Welcome to Destiny Movie Night. Tonight we talk about the movie called Mulholland Drive, and we have guest here, Jogan Barrientos.
Hello.
Hi. And
Hi.
for those who didn't see the movie yet, it's not easy to explain what's happening in this movie because it's quite a dreamlike um, things happening in the movie. But I must start with the fact that this is a live discussion and anyone can participate within the Q&A session and ask questions directly, and we try to answer it. And Jogan, how would you describe this movie if you would?
Right. Okay. Um, so, I guess spoiler alert for everyone. If you haven't seen the movie, I suggest watching it because it's a very, I suggest watching it first if you want to see the movie and then come back later to watch Hangout. I'm maybe just gonna talk about it now. So it's a movie that does involve a very twisted plot line, with lots of different surprises, and it's very indirect, very dreamlike, like a fantasy kind of situation. And you know, and because we're going to be talking about a lot of the elements in the movie, I'm just going to talk about it freely. So there's a lot of, the whole positive point in the beginning of the movie. It's like very dreamlike, very happy, and very good. And then it turns into like a nightmare situation, and it's all revolving around basically this woman's fantasy of that she uses to escape from her reality, which is something that well, to put in a very basic term, is like a relationship ending of a relationship, as well as it's the basic point, like a breakup, and she creates this whole fantasy where she's still with this woman, and it's like it's very. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's good for now. We'll get more into how it ends and all that.
Okay.
Let's look at it, I guess.
Yeah, for me, basically, David Lynch movies were like always a special because even when I watched the movie and I had my own conclusions or reactions, I next day I'm walking on the street and still having this relations to the movie because so many levels I was worked on, so to speak, with these experiences in the movie, the specific plot line, the characters, the sound, and everything. So it's fascinating. It's like working on a deeper mind level, basically, as I felt. But that's the whole point we discussed before that it's these movies are more like a personal mo relation movies because everyone can have a different perspective and reaction. So we try not to go into the personal relation much, but more rather than the mechanism of the mind and how the emotions or the reactions are building up to the point when basically there is no return. And for
Yeah.
instance, the plot you mentioned before, the when the guy is talking in the restaurant,
hmm
you want
Oh yeah,
to explain how you
yeah,
expect?
okay. So, describing the scene, there's two guys, they're in a diner, and it's like a very doesn't seem very exciting scene. And the one guy is talking about how he's had this dream where, he's sitting in this diner with this other guy, and he's afraid for some reason, which he doesn't know in the dream. And then, then he knows in the dream like there's someone in behind the diner, and all this happening within the scene, right? So then the scene plays out, and you then have this anticipation that there's this man behind the diner, and there's something that he's afraid about, which you don't know. And so this creates this whole anticipation, almost like a psychological thing, I guess, what his director did. And for me personally, like when I saw this movie for the first time, is like such a fear point where it's like, something is gonna come up, there's something scary, there's something with the music, or there's something with the camera angles, there's just something that's gonna happen, and you see that, and then it plays out, and then there's this figure comes out, and then it's like this is like a shock, I guess, for me, and it's like just like you're afraid in that moment, and I think it's all part of that how the scene's set up, with the anticipation, the camera angles, so many different elements to that, and I think that's pretty cool, that a person was able to create this within being aware of how the mind works, of course. With the IP, it's interesting because we use triggers, we use this understanding of how we react to understand deeper dimensions of what's going on within us. So yeah, that's like the basic scene. I wanted to comment on that, or
Yes, and in a way, just now reflecting what you said, that it's like he's showing what he's doing and what we are reacting to. Like this plot is happening, and then at the end there is this sort of jump scare, like wow, and then we realize that oh okay, for a moment I am scared, but then I see that everything is all right again. So the movie continues. So I am like, okay, just back, and then it builds up with a different cycle, a different rhythm, but similar things with the mind.
Mhm. Um, for me personally, the relationship point with that's throughout the movie will
Hmm.
let's see, how should I? Okay, so before I saw this movie, I went, but like 6 months before, like the first time I saw it, I went through like a serious relationship breakup, and many points in the movies, how I relate to how I felt, will sort of trigger those memories of how I felt. Where in the movie does go, I get particularly there's one scene with the theater box, and there's a woman singing a song, and basically she's singing about the ending of a relationship and how she was always sad and she'll always be sad. She'll always cry over that loss of that relationship over this person. And something within those words, that reaction I was having was like that very point, like manifested. I was just feeling like when I was in that state, when my relationship ended, it was like I'll always be sad. It's just like I'll never know the end of this. Like every day I'm gonna feel the same way, just sad and depressed, and just like always be sad over this person, always want to be with her, etc. And so yeah, it's like that point, which is a very crucial point in the movie because you sort of realize that how that turns into a self-abuse within. um, I guess yeah, to say it, I guess like it's just later on, it's like you see the woman who is sad over the ending of the relationship, how she even goes to the point of physical self-abuse, where she's well, I'll say like I've never seen any movie where she's actually masturbating, and you see it's a very physically aggressive and like harmful movement where she's like literally hurting herself, which I've never seen that movie before, but that really shows like the actual physical abuse, but then almost as a representation of the emotional abuse, where when you're feeling sad and depressed and ending a relationship, you harm yourself, and even that sadness and those emotions are an abuse in themselves. Are actually a harm, a self-abuse of yourself as well. And so that's very interesting. The whole point of of those scenes, and that's how I related to that, of how I was abusing myself within what I was going through, within accepting, allowing that to continue, within that depression, sadness, and wanting that relationship, and you're not really just being here and realizing that it ended and that's it, you know. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
it's
was really cool. Yeah.
fascinating. Just saying that because even if the other doesn't want to be with me, I am still compelled to just continue with this train in my mind. Like, yeah, this is what I want, and I am now sad because. So it's like really a hard construct, and once it's built up, it's just going, and then doesn't care really. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a complete possession.
Yes.
Just yeah.
And we can still justify it like this is love and this is the meaning of life and human nature and sort of things, when it's still, with common sense, it's obvious that we are hurting ourselves and each other. And
Yeah. It
Totally
just
giving
sucks.
up. Yeah.
I mean, like, so honestly, like, it's a very sucky experience. It just sucks, and it's just, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, and also when I was in like in university, I felt this enormous love, and then it yeah it was really possessive experience, and then when I couldn't fulfill, it was like really like, okay, my life is over. I don't care anything. I'm done. I'm gone. I
yeah,
was really sad, and then I went into this physical act, like wanting to feel something more stronger, like I hit my head to the wall, like wanting to feel something what is not this sadness and lose. And then I realized that I was abusing myself, so I must stop. And then I was
Mm,
able to stop this pattern. But it's fascinating to see that each young quite goes into the same pattern. Like we never learn from from each other or from
yeah.
the previous generation.
Yeah, there's like 7 billion people on this planet. You would think we could sort of see 7 billion examples of, this. Um, and exactly what we're talking about right now, we're both bringing up are points within, our Destiny process within DIP, which is, this DIP Hangouts. That's what we went through these experiences and we're able to reflect on them and we've been writing about them and like investigating them and using self-forgiveness as a tool to understand deeper dimensions of what's going on. And that's what's part of the whole DIP course is for that point. And so I'm saying this now because back then when I was in that experience, I didn't know what to do. That's just how I was. And so I think that's something that anyone who's watching this should sort of investigate the Desteni I Process and DIP and see, because we've all been there. We've always had that abusive point of some way or another. Maybe in our relationships, but then in other ways too. So it's like really cool, like, how we're able to do this right now with this movie and about the DIP process and why we're here, doing this right now.
Yeah, basically we are promoting it because we were able to walk through these self-abuse patterns, and it's really depends on the person that how much I am willing to invest into basically my self forgiveness, so to speak, and I am able to overcome these patterns because these patterns are not who we really are and can be forgiven and changed and understood that it is just a positive and negative mind is just playing, and how the happiness is basically not the answer within self-honesty, but still we can support one and each other. So the movie basically was also for me like a
Mhm.
whole package of experiences, and what I react to is like myself dishonesty, what I didn't solve coming like a reaction, and I am able to see that, oh yes, this I felt and then I am still experiencing, then maybe I can investigate what's happening here. And with the Destiny process, it's really practically made, like with the lessons, one can apply it, and during the daily living can learn how to investigate our mind and our self-dishonesty. Is it's really cool stuff. Really suggest it, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
Yes,
um, suppression. That's something else I wanted.
yes. Big
So,
point in the movie.
yeah. Um, so what's interesting is like the beginning part of the movie, it's positive, right? And then it slowly crumbles down into like a negative nightmare. Now, the way that when you see the movie, you sort of realize that it's always been a nightmare, but the woman's nightmare, she sort of tried to escape from her situation and create this alternate reality. And so that's very much the design of like suppression and trying to escape your reality. But then suppressing the negative and the emotions and the sadness or whatever emotions may be, and then trying to go into the positive. And of course, in the movie you see that crumbles away, and then it ends up in the negative again, and just even worse probably, you know. And the movie does end with like um, yeah, like a suicide at the very end of the movie, and that's sort of really, I guess, cool because it's not a happy ending. It's really the showing the consequence of what happens when you suppress your emotions and you act within that, and the consequences you create for yourself. And you know that's like the truth. You know, it gives you actually like sort of like a life lesson. You know, instead of just other movies which maybe shows you only the positive points without actually really showing you um, maybe how to do it, which, of course, this movie also doesn't show you how to actually approach emotions also. So that's what we're also here talking about within the IP. It's all part of that. What we're doing, just showing you some common sense examples of suppression when you're running away, the consequences of that, and of course you want to investigate how to do that. Look up the courses and Science for DIP Lite, which is free, by the way. But
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, and also within suppression to understand that what specific methods I use to transform the facts in my mind to feelings like I don't know, creating an idea or a dream or a desire for what I feel good about, and then building up like, oh, how it would be so good if it would happen, and then I'm feeling it and I am visualizing it. I don't know. I did lots of visualizations when I was a kid, like daydreaming and escaping from what's here. And until I really stopped, like daydreaming, I I wasn't able to deal with actually changing myself, changing my life, because I was putting all of my energies into flying away, basically. And then the girl also is dreaming about this Hollywood actor dream, and basically we are flying in the dream. And then at specific moments there are some events or experiences when she starts to relate to back to reality, because it's always there. It's like when we discussed when looking like a Wolf-Eye with the director of the movie.
Mhm.
And she's like recognizing that, yeah, look, this fascinating camera movement, and
Mhm.
then it's like a wake-up moment, but then the dream continues.
Mhm.
That's fascinating.
Um, Sorry.
And also so much it reveals that who we are in terms of I've talked about this movie with many people, and then everyone has their own idea about the symbolism and the the actual reactions, and it's that's why I find it quite supportive, these kind of movies, because um, if one is approaching with self-honesty or like a self-investigation mode or a starting point, then I am in the mode that I realize that each reaction I experience is actually me, and not really related to the movie or the reality, but who I am as creator, and I can take responsibility for what I experience. Like when I feel the fear of the actress going into these scary moments, and specifically when at the end the old couple is like chasing her. That
Mhm.
was really like first I saw it was really just like funny, like ridiculously funny how it would be scary. But if I would actually see it in my room, I might would feel like, wow, what's happening? I don't know what's happening. What are these reactions coming up in my mind? So it's really supporting to just step back one moment and then seeing that it's me. Everything I experience is created by me. So it's really a good example for a movie being supportive, but in the sense that it's kind of dark, because it shows, as you said, that if we follow these emotions, then we fuck up our own life.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like, yeah, like it ends with a suicide. It's like she, with ending her relationship, she was really, and then really in the movie it goes even deeper than that. Like Shang-Chi tries to get the girl, I guess, murdered. Like she hires like a hitman to kill the
Yes.
her her ex-lover, I guess. And I guess she feels so guilty or whatever. She was just couldn't live with herself, or whatever. Or I don't know. Like in the movie, she was being chased by those two people. I guess it's just whatever her emotions were, and then she kills herself. I mean, of course, it's like it's a movie still, but it's like that point of just when you're upset or you're angry and you do something you regret. It's an example of that. It's like I don't know. It's like it's such a consequence. Uh, when you do something that you can't change and you've done it, and you just sort of have to accept the fact that you've done this, and now move on and learn from that what you've done. To not repeat it. And it's like something that's a very important life lesson, I think. And it actually shows us too that when we make those kind of mistakes, is actually that lesson to learn is like to not do this again. That's kind of the point of it. And so it's also to learn to embrace those mistakes and embrace consequence and learn from them. So yeah.
Yeah, and also I was able to learn or at least understand what would happen in someone's mind when he's going really crazy and really paranoid and mad. Because myself, I had no much of that experience, like really becoming afraid all the time and then being possessed and doing mad things or crazy things. But by looking this kind of movies, like another David Lynch movies, like Inland Empire, it was specifically horrible, like a bad trip on acid. I don't know, it felt like. But for me, it was like learning how someone is totally becoming possessed with the reactions, and then not because in the first place, she doesn't know how she's creating these reactions, and then how she's building up her own mind to it. And then when it's intense, then I don't know how to stop it because I don't know how I've even created it. So it's like a trap. So I don't know where is the exit, and then maybe the suicide seems the most practical way for end the bad experience. It's really intense.
Yeah. Oh, we actually have a question. You
Oh
want to take
yes.
that?
Uh, it's uh, it's from Marzana. Hi Marzana. Hello, thank you for the discussion. I have not saw the movie, but would like to ask you, would you say that the reason we as humans want to escape from reality mostly because we don't understand how the physical reality is working? So what do you say?
I mean, I guess like the escape point, like it's like there isn't you're escaping from something, and like if you look at reality now, it's not very pretty. Meaning we all have things that we're reacting to, things we would want to change, and it's not going to be easy to change most of them. Um, and so it's like I'm trying to see how the connection between how the physical reality works. I would say it does help seeing and understanding how reality works, because if you don't understand how physical reality works, then that means then all you have as a basis for living your life is fantasy, and it's a basis of not how things actually work. And so I think that causes a problem for sure, not understanding how physical reality works. Um, and I would say that helps because if you are very grounded within the physical reality, then that sort of helps you be aware of when you're trying to escape from reality, which is physical reality. um, I'd say it's very complex when a person escapes. It has to do with who they are, their emotions, how they're reacting. And I would say, if you're asking whether I should learn about the physical reality, I would say, yeah, it's a good thing to become more aware, more grounded, and be more practical. You know, Escaping isn't very practical unless it's a situation where it's actually escaping real physical harm. any other situation besides you're escaping some physical harm to yourself, then it's like not real. Then it's just in the mind. It's just suppression, something like that.
Yeah, I see, totally agree with you. And also, in the point of escaping from reality, the more I escape, I build up more delusions, and then even I feel like maybe good. But if I want to apply it back into the reality, I just realize that I am quite powerless because I don't know how reality actually works, though, so I don't know how to manifest it, how to express it, how to share it, how to create it. So yeah, in a way, physical reality also in a way how I am existing within my own human physical body and how we are having these experiences, sharing words with each other, how we relate to the words, how we build up relationships. It's
Yeah,
really
it's like the whole understanding how the mind works, the mind conscious system, understanding our reactions, our triggers, all of it's part of it. That's sort of that's part of the I guess sort of part of the physical reality that's where we're trying to understand. If we don't understand how we work, we don't understand where our thoughts come from, that's sort of also part of the system, I guess, or whatever, the thing that, why we escape. It's part of that whole design, I guess. So I guess do a DIP course and write about yourself, investigate yourself, and learn why am I escaping this? What about this? What am I avoiding? Kind of thing.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then after all, that would be a solution. Or and then seeing what is my relationship with the possible solution I see. Is it doable? What I am resisting? Resistance, big time, mostly
Hmm.
is part of the image of ourselves.
Yeah.
And also relating in relation to the movie, like the girl couldn't just accept that, okay, I am now not in this relationship anymore, and I am still here. Like I can still live if I
Yeah.
want.
It's like it's like this point of self-forgiveness, where if she would have at any point in let's say in her cycle, if she had done self-forgiveness of what she was doing to herself, then she could have changed. Even if it was at the last minute when she could have killed herself, she could have forgave herself. I mean, obviously, the more long you wait, the more it grows, and maybe it's tougher. I don't know, but to any of that point, there's a point where you can forgive. It's like then really okay. I'm gonna learn now. I'm gonna actually change now, and I'm gonna stop doing this abuse to myself. So you know, um, it's just interesting that's possible. That at any point you can apply that and really now start working. And she didn't, of course, and that's the consequence.
Yeah,
That's what the movie does.
in a way, yes. And also, what I see that the more I accept and allow myself to exist within this reactive mind, with totally controlled by emotions, I am still manifesting the consequences, like accumulating what I accept and allow, and then what I accumulate, it's basically what I am responsible for. And it is the more I participated or the more I accept, the more becomes. So it's really common sense to just immediately stop and then see that what I am doing and why I am doing, and is it good for me? Is it good for the other? Or what is actually good? And making these
Yeah,
questions and
yeah,
backtracking to the starting point of the mind is
hmm,
really good.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question, Marcelo. And something you want to talk about the movie?
I actually covered the main points that I liked: the suppression, the relationships, the horror points. I don't know. Do you have anything?
Um, I had one point. Let me just look into my notes. Yes, in relation to the whole structure of the movie Mulholland Drive,
Mm-hmm.
it's like apparently there are some points what are not directly related to the main plot, and some even seem like random actions just happening to make the viewer react,
Mm-hmm.
but still adding to the whole picture. Like this assassination part when the cleaner comes and the neighbor lady, it's almost like comical, going into this reaction that ha ha ha. It's kind of funny, but still like I can't resist to react, and then within that reaction I can reveal that who I am basically as I see these movies. And what I wanted to say that it's not about which situation I find myself within being, but also to see that who I am in relation to this actual situation. Like the more we walk this process, the more we realize that it is not about where we are or what we are doing, but who we are and what is the starting point or what is the relationship I am walking in this specific mindset or relationship. And also someone is within the relationship but is like abusive or accepting being abused or abusing each other. It's like even there is no exit or doesn't seem to be an exit, it is yeah, as you said, that there is always a point when you can come back from the reality to the reality from the escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of a conclusion that if someone is dealing with emotions what are like making their life difficult or ruining the sharing process or even the life, then one would just look up the Desteni I Process light and try it because it's fascinating. And before it, I never had any idea how commonsensical is the solution to just investigate and stop and apply the words and change the relationship with the words. And also when one is facing the end of one relationship, that it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like to just share points what is not required anyone or everyone to experience this emotional turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say going over my history, ideally would like to prevent that thing for other people, because I already went through it. So, ideally, at some point, people, in the future, people can enter relationships and enter these situations, or even not necessarily relationships, because, everything you relate to is a kind of relationship. So even how you relate to your house, how you relate to your things, your family members. When you lose something, whether it be you lose a car, you lose a house, you lose a person, or whatever you may lose, it's like, the emotional experience, to be able to understand what's going on, to not simply follow into that and just be a reaction, but to actually be able to create yourself and be able to, decide who you're going to be, and, not simply have to succumb to this torturous experience, because it is, for me, it was very torturous, and that's also part of why I did Desteni I Process in the first place in Destiny, because of this, because I went through torture and understood how the negative emotions were tied to the positive emotions, and so I had to really investigate, and really just be honest, like, what's going on within me, and so it's like, in a way, it was like, for me, it was a gift, of course, because then I was able to use this for me and be able to investigate, and eventually, maybe it's really good for other people so that they can use it to avoid that experience. But even not so much avoid, but just it won't be necessary to go through that consequence, because you already know, understand how things are working. So yeah.
Yes, and also just being able to see that it's always the same cycle. Like I feel good, I feel bad, and then after a while I can assume that okay, I might will have an experience of fear, so I can remind to myself that next time I feel this fear, I can just move back for a moment and see that what is the fear why I fear losing this, or is it real, or it is just I built up, and why I built up. So it's really practical way. So yeah, we can wrap up by just
Sure.
I'm grateful that this movie is out, and maybe it's not for everyone because it kind of intense,
Hmm.
but in a sense of self-support can be applied with self-honesty.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So thank you very much for watching this, and thank you, Yogan, for sharing some points here. And then next week will be American History X with probably Victor. So until that,
Yep.
bye.
Bye. Thanks.